We have a co-main event coming up this weekend that I can't figure out, Matt can't figure out. Maybe you can tell us. We have the Belizean Bruiser, Marion Reneau. She's going to be taking on Cupcake Miesha Tate, the former One Championship VP. She joined the crew back in 2018. She left not that long ago to pursue the comeback in the UFC. But if you look at it for Miesha Tate, former women's bantamweight champ, she was able to get a huge win over Holly Holm right after Holm had beat Ronda Rousey. Boom. It was the trading of the hands of the title. Until Miesha Tate went on in her next fight to take on Amanda Nunes. She lost, and Nunes has been champ ever since. That was 4 years and 11 months ago. She would then go on a few months later to lose to Raquel Pennington by decision and retire. And at the time, she was 29 years old. She was 18-7. You're fairly long in the tooth. You go down through Miesha Tate's record. It's a murderer's row, some might say. Jessica, Sarah McMahon, Rin Nakai, Liz Carmouche, Ronda Rousey, Kat Zingano, Julie Kedzie, Ronda Rousey, and you go all the way down through Sarah Kaufman, Caitlin Young in her debut, Jan Finney after that. These are pioneers of the sport and names that you should definitely know. Not to say that Marion Reneau hasn't fought good names. She has. I mean, yeah, her record might not be the best, but still, she's fought big names. The 5-on-in, 1-4, not the best. But for Miesha Tate, I haven't seen her fight in a cage in 4 years and 7 months, and I have no idea what she's been doing other than looking shred city on Instagram and not being the One Championship VP anymore.
So sometimes you have to look at the past to predict the future. And let's just kind of break down why Miesha Tate left in the first place. So she gets a weird Uriah Faber title shot because here's the thing. Jessica Ai had lost so many fights at bantamweight, and Miesha Tate beats her one time at bantamweight and immediately gets the title shot. Now I understand the UFC wasn't in a hurry to put Ronda Rousey back in there with Holly Holm. They wanted to give Ronda Rousey some time off, and they ended up doing Miesha Tate versus Holly Holm, which is an interesting fight, and I guess I'll speak more on that here in a couple minutes. But if you look at her last two fights in the promotion, she is the headliner of UFC 200, one of the biggest cards in UFC's history, against Amanda Nunes. And listen, if you guys are watching our videos, then you probably know who Amanda Nunes is. She is not only the greatest women's fighter ever, arguably just the best fighter ever, regardless of gender at this point. So Miesha Tate gets absolutely brutalized in that fight. And that is one of those fights where you can't really take many positives from it in the Miesha Tate corner. She lands a couple jabs, but gets all of her takedowns denied. And on the feet, you can probably assume what happens when Amanda Nunes boxes in Miesha Tate. Breaks her nose, takes her down, chokes her out. A very dominant performance from Amanda Nunes. And then Miesha Tate goes out there and fights Raquel Pennington, which I don't care what your opinion of Raquel Pennington is. She's very mid-tier in this division. I understand she has had a title shot, but Raquel Pennington really is a win one, lose one kind of fighter, especially as the top tier of this division. And she had her way with Miesha Tate in that fight. So I guess the question I really have on Miesha Tate's return is, why is she coming back? Because I know there's a lot of fighters who say this. They go, I'm only going to be in the UFC for as long as I can believe I can become champ one day. Does Miesha Tate, is she coming back because she thinks that, okay, I can become champion? Is she looking at the top of the division with the Jermaine Durandames and the Holly Holmes, and she thinks, okay, well, they're primary strikers. My bread and butter really is my wrestling game. Maybe I can offer a unique stylistic matchup to those top fighters. The issue is that this road always brings you back to Amanda Nunes. And I'm sorry, I don't care if Miesha Tate was doing nothing but training with like a prime Manny Pacquiao and Conor McGregor and Anderson Silva in this weird time machine for the last 5 years. She's not going to beat Amanda Nunes. So if Miesha Tate's coming back, has she realized that, okay, I'm at this stage in my career where I can come back and be like an Arturo Gatti, like I have a big name and I can be more of an action fighter? That wouldn't make a lot of sense, because that's not really what she was known as before she ever became champion, before she retired. I guess this question really just goes over to you. Why is Miesha Tate coming back? Because I can think of a lot of reasons, but none of them are that great.
It's probably to be a ranked bantamweight, to have really big fights, and then ultimately try and find your path back to the title to see if you can make it back that far. I'm sure you're going to get a lot of answers throughout Fight Week. We're going to find out on Media Day. We're going to see both of these two at Weigh-In Day, and I cannot stress enough. Miesha Tate physically looks absolutely amazing. She's in the best shape I think I've ever seen her, period. She's taking on Marion Reneau. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. 18-7 for Miesha Tate, former champ. She's fought big names. She's 34, almost 35. She's 2 months away. Well, really, she's a month away from turning 35. Marion Reneau just turned 44. And I don't know any tougher gym teachers than Marion Reneau at 44, Matt. We grew up with a parent who was a gym teacher. I don't think he could have fought this high level of fighter. Hell, even when he was 30, let alone 44. But if you look at it for Marion Reneau, finished Jessica Andrade, fought Julia Avila really early on in 2012, finished Talita Bernardo, finished Sarah McMahon. That's a great win, feather in your cap. Lost to Kat Zingano. Lost to Yana Kunitskaya. Should have won that fight. Fought Raquel Pennington in a competitive fight back last year, June of last year, and then got her ears boxed in by Macy Chasson. But when I look at the names that she was booked in to fight, even some of the bookings that fell out, Macy Chasson, Ketlin Vieira, Raquel Pennington, Ketlin Vieira, Irene Aldana, Yana Kunitskaya, Tanya Evinger at one point. Still big names, and still big names that they've been booking her against. Marion Reneau right now booked in the lower half of this division's top 15. So again, it's a good fight to realize where both women are at. Marion Reneau, though, these last fights, 3 months ago, a year ago, around then, 2 years, 3 months, 2 years, 11 months, 3 years, 4 months. She's fought 5 fights in the time that Miesha Tate hasn't fought one.
So for Miesha Tate, this is my problem. I look at Miesha Tate like a female Ken Shamrock. And I look at Ronda Rousey as a female Royce Gracie. Whereas in the early days of the women's divisions, they were dominated by specialists. Like Ronda Rousey, what was her specialty? It was the judo, and I understand she expanded her boxing, if you will. But she really was a specialist. And Miesha Tate really was the same thing. She could box a little bit, but her wrestling is her specialty. The question is, does that kind of specialty... Do those types of specialists still win in today's MMA? I honestly think Miesha Tate's going to beat Marion Reneau this weekend, but the real question mark is where does she go after this? Because the thing about Marion Reneau is, yes, she's a good BJJ black belt. She's not good off of her back, and it's kind of weird. She can just get held down and be controlled in bottom position, and against someone like Miesha Tate, that's really all Miesha Tate does. I really do think Miesha Tate can go out there and simply get 3 takedowns in this fight, but my issue is that we're going to lead this fight with all this Miesha Tate hype. People are going to be like, wow, she looks so good. But she looks so good against a 44-year-old on a 4-fight losing streak. It's just, I don't want people to get caught up in the Miesha Tate hype just in case she does beat Marion Reneau. I don't think she's going to be a top fighter in this division whatsoever. And I really do think Miesha Tate would have a hard time against like the Aspen Lads of the world in this division. You know, the fighters who are A, not in their 40s, but B, they just are more of what a modern mixed martial artist is. They're not just a wrestler. They're not just a boxer. They're a well-rounded fighter. So I guess my prediction is that Miesha Tate should win this fight against Marion Reneau, but she doesn't accept damage all that well. And Marion Reneau, oddly enough, is one of the more heavy-handed 44-year-olds out there. So I see there being a path for Marion Reneau. I just find it really hard taking it myself.
Tate opened a plus 115 underdog. She's a minus 138 favorite right now. Reneau opened a minus 135 favorite. She's a plus 113 underdog right now. Over on Tapology, total votes, 1,121. 86% Tate, 80% by decision. 14% that have Marion Reneau to win, 79% by decision. Honestly, everybody out there, I'm on the fence about this one. I'm going to see these two weigh in. I'm going to tell you question mark kicks, and I'm going to see that Miesha Tate physically looks way better than Marion Reneau, and it might sway me even more. I'm scared away from throwing this on my parlay or even my question mark kicks parlay. I'm ever so slightly going with Tate because Marion Reneau's defensive wrestling isn't great.
Awful, some might say.
Marion Reneau can take a beating, though. And she can give one, too. Go back and watch that Yana Kunitskaya fight if you want to see one, because I really thought Reneau won that fight, and at the end I went, what? Come on.
It was a draw.
So I will go with all the unknowns of Miesha Tate in this fight, which I normally don't do, but I will go with that, because if she's in, even a small percentage of what she was at the top, she could have a competitive fight here. But if they put her against, I think a good fight, and it's weird, would be Juliana Pena, who's getting a title shot. I think that's the fight that I would sooner see than a lot of fights in this top 15 women's bantamweight. But other than that, it's really tough to predict the future.
If you're coming back to be champion, what have you added to your game that makes me think you're going to beat Nunes? Because just wrestling doesn't do it. We've seen what jiu-jitsu does. Amanda Nunes is normally better than the jiu-jitsu fighters in there, and you can't strike with her whatsoever. So again, I do like Tate in this fight, but for me, I have no idea where either one of these women go after this one.
Both of us ever so slightly... and so scared. Going with Cupcake Miesha Tate. You let us know if we're lunatics down below in the comments section, as you normally do. And hey, you're not going to want to miss our main event video from Makhachev versus Moises. So stick around for that. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.